Hello. Welcome to the VickyCharles.com podcast. My name is Vicky Charles, surprisingly. You can find the show notes for this and all previous podcasts at vickycharles.com/podcast. This week's episode number 35 is 5 ways to improve your Facebook posts. So let's get on with it. Welcome to episode number 35 of the VickyCharles.com podcast, 5 tips for improving your Facebook posts. Now, Facebook has, I think, 1.4 billion monthly active users, and that is a massive number of people. I think if it was a country, it would be the third largest in the world or something like that. And I think people get a bit overwhelmed by there's that many people as a potential audience, and I'm only reaching 50 of them. People get a bit fed up with that. Now, I've spoken a lot before about Facebook's algorithms and how they work and why it's still important to use your page, and the fact that I think a lot of people think, but Facebook hate pages. And I've kind of spoken about that before, about how the algorithm actually works in the favour of the end user, not in anybody's favour in terms of who's creating the content. So that's something to bear in mind. And really the best way to get more interaction and more eyes on your pages, on your posts, is to create good content. So I'm going to help you to do that, hopefully. So my first tip is to remember we've all got really short attention spans. Did you even listen to most of my introduction, or were you busy picking at your nails or writing a Facebook post or tweeting or taking a picture or telling your toddler to get down off the sofa? We don't tend to focus on one thing for a long amount of time. And if you've written like a 3-paragraph kind of epic about how the postman was rude to you this morning and your dog ate your letter, nobody's reading that. Nobody is going to read that. And it's really, really important to bear in mind, even if you're only writing a couple of lines, if the first few words are not engaging and interesting, if they don't catch someone's attention, they are scrolling on by that. You can guarantee it. The first couple of words of any post are absolutely crucial. You can add a photo that will help. Quite often a rubbish photo will get more engagement than a really, really rubbish text update. So think about, what you're going to put with your post to make it more interesting, to grab someone's attention, because if they're just scrolling through Facebook and they're standing at the bus stop, or they're kind of on their lunch break and they're queuing up at Subway, you need to get something that says, hey, read this, look at this, something they're really going to be interested in. And if your followers are really interested in cricket, then make sure you mention cricket in the first couple of words, if that's what your update is about. If you run a page about biscuits, and you have come up with a great new kind of biscuit that has chocolate chips and chocolate on top, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. You need to put that, at the first few words, new type of biscuit, whatever, rather than kind of, wow, we've been working really hard lately at the factory and la 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 la, and then kind of new biscuit is like on the 4th line. Nobody will read that. Nobody will know about your new biscuit. I know you're not making, I wish you were making biscuits. Are you making biscuits? If you're making biscuits, you need to tell me. Either way, nobody's going to know about your product if you leave it on the kind of languishing on the 3rd line of your Facebook update. Make sure that the key point of your update, the key thing that you think your readers are going to be interested in, is within the first couple of words to really grab their attention. My second point is to plan your content. Now, I spoke about this last week in episode number 34. It's really worth taking the time to plan. And I mean, some people do have spreadsheets and kind of notebooks and real detailed clinical plans of what they're doing on social media. I am quite lazy and I don't have any of that. What I tend to do is to just look through what I've posted in the last week or the last month and try not to duplicate it, try not to repeat myself, try not to keep saying the same thing over and over again, really, which I just have done in 2 different ways. Brilliant. Well done, Vicky. But you kind of plan your content to say, okay, yesterday at 4:00 I posted about chickens. So today at 7:00 I'll post about chickens, but at 4:00 I'll post about dogs. I don't know, something, whatever, so that you're being slightly different. So you're still within your niche, but you're not posting the same thing at the same time every day. You can assume that people are creatures of habit. They get up at whatever time they get up, and they scroll through Facebook while they eat breakfast, or they scroll through Facebook at the bus stop, or they scroll through Facebook on their lunch break, which is between 12 and 1. You can tend to find that the same person will be online at the same time most days. So try and make sure that the content you're posting is different at that time, so you're catching different people with your content, if you see what I mean. My third tip is to use a mixture of content types. I think everyone's agreed that video is the most engaging type of content. But if you only post videos, you're going to kind of run into a brick wall, really. You either end up posting a lot of videos of yourself, which after the first 3 is like, oh, geez, we've seen your face again, really? People are not going to really want to watch a lot of videos of yourself, especially if you're just standing preaching at the screen about how people should only buy cloth nappies or something. They're not going to want to listen to that again. Or you end up posting videos of something else. So I don't really post videos of myself because I get really cringy, hence the fact that this is a podcast and not a vlog. I don't really post videos of myself very much. So if I share a video, and I know video is the most engaging content, so I try to share videos, they'll either be videos of my daughter or videos that I've shared from another page, like from BuzzFeed or wherever. And the problem with that is, if it is a video of yourself, it gets a bit monotonous. If it's not a video of yourself, it becomes really impersonal on your page, and you become like BuzzFeed, which is not at all a personal page. So the trick is, although video is the most engaging, don't only post video. You kind of need to mix up your content types. Text is, I think, the second most engaging, but like I said in the first point, it needs to be engaging text, not just any text. You really need to plan what you're saying and really think about whether that's going to catch people's attention and get across the message you're trying to get across. The next 2 are links and photos. So a photo will get more engagement purely because as somebody is scrolling up their screen, and these days most people access Facebook on their mobile, so as they're scrolling up their screen, a photo is just more real estate that you're taking up on their screen that they need to try and ignore. It's harder to ignore a picture, especially if it's brightly coloured. I think blue-toned pictures get more likes or whatever, so things like that are worth bearing in mind. Make sure it's an interesting picture. For goodness sake, make sure it's a good picture. Don't post a really, like, an unfocused, wobbly, kind of grainy picture of something where I'm not even sure what it is. Nobody's going to like that. Nobody's going to want to kind of stop and have a real good stare at the screen to see what that is, like some sort of magic eye picture from the 90s. Nobody's going to do that. You're just wasting your time. Post a good quality picture. And if you're posting links, don't only post links to your blog. I say this all the time. I know that you've got a Facebook page to promote your blog, but realistically, if that's all you're going to do, people are not going to be interested. If advertising like that worked, then you would never have seen the orange tango man with his big hand, because all you would have seen was a can of tango on the screen and buy tango. People spend billions on advertising across the world because they know that they can't just show you the product and say, hey, buy this. And you need to bear that in mind. When you post a link to your blog, don't just post a link to your blog and say, here's my blog, come and read this. You need to kind of post other things around it so that your entire advertising strategy is not just based around, here's my blog, come and read this. You can kind of share other people's content. A lot of the time that works really well. I would advise sharing from a really, really wide range of people within your niche or within what you think your readers are interested in. So use an RSS reader or some sort of curation site that will allow you to look at kind of the day's news stories, blogs from all over the world, all sorts of things to get links to post on your site if that's what you're going to do. You can have an agreement with your mate that you're going to share posts from your blog and their blog, and your mate will share posts from their blog and your blog, and that will work really well until somebody starts to follow both pages and realise what you're up to. But also, your mate's blog might not be that good, or your mate's blog might be about something completely different. It might have a completely different political standpoint. It might advocate that you smack your children around the head with a rusty nail every morning. You know, you can't just blindly kind of say to your friend, I'm going to share your blog post and you share mine. You both need to be aware of who your audience is and that you probably have different audiences. Even if you both write about having 2.4 children and a white picket fence, you both have different styles. You both write differently, you both have different ways of saying and doing things, and you will have different audiences, and that's really important to bear in mind if you're posting links, is not just to only post that link from that person because they're your friend. Post everything that you can find that relates to your niche. So look at the news sites for the day, and also don't only post things that have come out today. If you find an article that was like 3 months old but it's still interesting and it's not about something that's kind of really time sensitive, then share it. Why not? People might not have seen it 3 months ago, they might have seen it 3 months ago and not read it, but you're going to write a really brilliant comment at the top of it that's going to make people want to read it this time around. So kind of bear that in mind and post lots of different things. Tip number 4 is to think really carefully about hashtags. Now, Twitter and Instagram are built on hashtags. Instagram especially, 10 hashtags minimum, somebody told me the other day, which I was a bit scared by. But Facebook is not Twitter or Instagram. And I know people were using hashtags on Facebook before Facebook really started having hashtags, and everyone would be like, what are you doing posting hashtags? Now you can use hashtags on Facebook, but everybody still is a bit like, why are you posting hashtags? This isn't Twitter. This isn't Instagram. What are you doing? It's worth remembering that actually posts with hashtags on Facebook do not perform as well as those without hashtags in a lot of instances. So it's really kind of, is it worth you posting that hashtag? Is that a really useful hashtag for you? Why are you posting it there? Are you only posting it there because you're cross-posting from Instagram? In which case, cross-post from Instagram and then go back to your Instagram post and leave a comment with your hashtags. You could come up with a hashtag specifically for yourself, for your brand, your blog, your niche. Test it and see if that works for you. Don't take my word for it. I might be lying. I might have read the wrong article this morning when I was recording this podcast. You never know. So always test it and see if it works for yourself first. My fifth and final point for improving your Facebook posts is to use your insights and also common sense. So find out the best time of day for your posts, but also have a look and see what type of posts are working for you, which ones are getting the most interaction. Thursday and Friday are apparently the best days of the week to post, and a post on a Sunday will tend to get more engagement, I think, because people are just sat on the sofa with their feet up, getting over a hangover or panicking about going back to work tomorrow, and they're on Facebook just to kind of get away from the reality of going back to work tomorrow, I suppose. But either way, Sunday posts tend to get more engagement. Monday to Wednesday tends to be quite quiet. So if you've got a big announcement to make, don't do it on a Tuesday afternoon because it won't be seen. I say this and then my podcast goes out on a Wednesday, so perhaps it would do better if I put it out on a Thursday or Friday. That's something to consider. But kind of look at your insights and see when your audience are online, and also, you know, what country they're in, what language they're using. If you find that suddenly that you've got an awful lot of fans on your page whose native language is Spanish, do something just for them. Put up a little thing. Use Google Translate to write, oh, hello, Spanish followers, or something. If I was reading a page in a language that was not my first language and somebody took the time to put something up that was written in my first language, I would like that. I would share it with all my English-speaking friends. I would think it was fantastic. And that is really important to bear in mind. If you take that little bit of time to get to know your audience, and not just using insights, but also remembering if they've commented and they've said something. So quite often I'll do a post that says, oh, what are you up to today? And people will go, oh, I've got to take my child to the doctor for immunisations. Come back at the end of the day and go, how was that? How was it for you? Was it okay? Did he cry a lot? You know, come up with an idea. Or have you got some cowpole? I hope you've got cowpole. Things like that. Show that you're paying attention and that they're not just another person to like your content, that you really do care for them, as I'm sure you do. Get to know your audience and make sure they know that you get to know them, that you remember them, that you kind of are willing to share information with them and chat to them. Don't just be kind of this faceless entity that I publish this stuff and you should go and read it because I'm better than you, because that really won't get you very far in the long term. You need to be friends with your audience, I think. These days, I think that's where things are going, and that's where your insights can really help you. Saying it like that makes it sound a bit kind of cynical, as if you're just going to go out and stalk your readers to see what they like so that you can only show them stuff that they like. But realistically, it's like if you had a friend and it was their birthday, you wouldn't just go out and buy whatever was on the shelf at Tesco. You would go and find something that you knew that they really liked. And you've got to think about that in terms of your readers, that you want them to feel that special to you, that you've gone to take the time to find out what they like, to find out who they are, to find out the name of their child. I'm terrible at that. I always forget people's kids' names. I'm lucky if I remember my own kid's name, to be honest. But just take that extra bit of time and effort, and it really can pay off for you, because if somebody feels valued by you, then they're going to be more inclined to share your things or to buy whatever product you have coming out, or if you've got a book coming out or you want them to sign up to your email list. If they feel like they're not just a number, that they are really kind of a value part of a community, they'll buy into that, and they'll buy into what you're doing and what you're trying to say to them. And that's worth all the money in the world, I think, is to have somebody like that. So using your insights can really help you to do that. So those were my 5 top tips for improving your Facebook posts. I do hope you found them useful. As always, whether you found them useful or not, I would love if you would leave me a comment, either here on the blog, or you can contact me at facebook.com/Vicky Charles Writer. On Twitter, I am at Vicky C. Writes, and on Instagram, I'm also at Vicky C. Writes. You can email me at vicky@vickycharles.com, and you can find the show notes for this and all previous podcasts at vickycharles.com/podcast. I would love if you found my podcast on Stitcher Radio. I'd love if you'd go and leave me a review there. Or you can find me on Spreaker, and I will eventually be on iTunes when I sort myself out, basically. So that's it from me for this week. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back next week.